First of all, we did similar research in Finland a few years ago, and the results were very interesting. We were studying the benefits of liberal adult education here in Finland, and the research was so interesting that I decided to make a comparative study and to get the bigger data from different European countries. So that was one reason. And the other one is that this field of research is not very common in adult education. For example, when we think about the outcomes of learning, we usually start to think about cognitive outcomes like learning, whether you learn the languages you have been studying and whether you learn to do a painting or similar things. But in wider benefit studies, we study what is the added value of these studies. So when you learn languages, you also create social networks, and you make your self-esteem better. You get new friends, your learning motivation increases, and so on. So these wider benefits are not so commonly researched in adult education. And maybe the third reason was that this liberal adult education in general is a bit marginal in many ways. In policy, it is not recognized as a proper adult education, and in research, only a few researchers are actually focusing on this area.
In the Bell research, what countries participated?
We had 10 countries: Finland, Germany, Spain, Italy, Slovenia, Czech Republic. Did I say Italy? Yes. And then we had Serbia. So that was the combination of countries we had.
And what did you want to compare?
First of all, we wanted to have a look whether the benefits are similar in different countries, whether there are differences between the countries which are based on the culture. But it was surprising that the results are almost identical in all countries. So my understanding is that adults are similar animals, so to say, in different countries. So if they participate in similar activities, it doesn't make a difference whether you study, for example, singing in Germany or in Finland or in England and so on. So the benefits, the experiences, the feedback, the experiences people will get from the studies, they are similar in spite of the country. There are some small differences which are statistically significant, but these differences are very small in practice. And
are the differences between genders, men and women?
Yes, there are some differences which make sense. For example, the female participants experience more benefits which are family related. And in our study, family related benefits are benefits that you learn to support your children better in school tasks and so on. So maybe the explanation is that women are still the main providers for the children. But even this difference is small. It's a statistically significant difference, but it's small difference. So that the men report less this kind of benefits. And in addition, the men have experienced more benefits which are related to work and career. So once again, we can make an interpretation that men are more work-oriented and female participants are more family-oriented.
You mentioned that you had one idea to see whether there are any culturally based differences in the countries which you compared, and you were surprised to find that that is not the case. Were there other surprises for you in the research?
Yeah. There were some very interesting differences, but these differences are mainly based on the different types of participants and different types of courses. So these differences are not so much country specific. You can't make the interpretation that it's because the Spain, the differences are that kind of differences. For example, in Spain we had quite a lot unemployed, lower educated immigrant respondents, and it means that the Spanish results are a bit different from Finnish results, where we had a lot of female, higher educated, retired people, which is the main population for adult education centers in Finland. So this kind of differences they are, and there are also some quite interesting differences. For example, in Spain, people tend to start drinking more. It doesn't mean that they become alcoholics, but they tend to go out after the courses with friends and to drink a glass of wine or things like this, because this is a cultural thing to do. But in Finland, it's very. It's not so often that people, after the language courses or after the exercises, they go to bar and have a drink, because it is not the Finnish style, and also this population in Finland, they are older women, and this is not the habit. So this kind of differences.
How large were the samples?
We had actually 8,600 respondents from 10 countries, so it's large enough to make proper analysis and also to convince the decision makers, because if you have a large enough data, then you can give some big numbers, and policymakers like this kind of results.
And what can you tell the policymakers? What are the wider benefits of learning?
We have it's very difficult to say in short, because there are so many benefits. We actually had 35 different statements. Each of them represent a kind of one benefit, and then we summarize these benefits in 10 factors, so to say. So these 10 sum scores or factors, these are the main benefits. And among these we have some psychological benefits like a sense of efficiency and locus of control, which means that you have better feeling that you can control your own life and make decisions about your own life. And then we have benefits which are family-related, work-related benefits, which means that you learn skills that you can use also in your work and career. And then we had health benefits, both mental and physical health benefits. And then we had the benefits which are related to educational experiences. It basically means that your learning motivation becomes better when you participate in adult education. So this kind of benefits, but we have a very long list of individual benefits, starting from smoking less, drinking less, and trusting other people, trusting policymakers, being more active as a citizen, and so on.
Out of the 8,600, how many reported back to you that they did feel that they had benefits from participating?
Of course, there are differences on different statements, different benefits, but the biggest benefit, which was experienced by almost 90% of participants, was learning motivation. So increased learning motivation, almost 9 out of 10 people recognize this kind of benefits from participation, and this is the increase in learning motivation.
When non-formal adult educators look for arguments in your research for why non-formal adult education should be continuously financed and should have a place in the educational provision of a country and of Europe, would it be fair to say that the results of increased learning motivation that was reported by the absolute majority is one of the stronger arguments to use in a situation where we need to relearn our skill sets to face a changing labor market, for example?
Yes, absolutely. And the main result from our study is that this liberal adult education, because it's voluntary, it makes people more motivated than obligatory vocational training. It's a very basic psychological fact that your motivation becomes better when you do something voluntarily. This is based on the motivation studies, motivation theories, and it's very commonly known that if you have internal motivation to do something, as you have in liberal education, then the benefits and the changes in motivation are bigger. And this is very interesting fact because we can, for example, show that lower educated people who don't even have the basic education completed, they experience more changes in learning motivation than people who are already higher educated, for example, if they have a university degree. And it makes sense because these higher educated people, they already have a high motivation, learning motivation. And those lower educated who participate in adult education, they learn more, and their learning motivation becomes even better than it has been before. And they benefit more from learning.
This has been a project that has occupied your time now for a couple of years, together with many other things that you have been doing. What have you learned from participating in the BEL project?
Well, I think if I think about the surprises or interesting details, one of the details was that we were actually able to see that adult learning activities, which are called or can be defined as liberal, they are very similar in different countries. I was surprised that in Spain, Italy, Slovenia, Serbia, Finland, the liberal adult education activities are almost the same. The organization, of course, differs because in Finland we have very organized organizational structure, and in Serbia, in Spain, Italy, it's almost missing. But the activities in themselves and the topics people study, they are same. And we were actually able to analyze the types of courses using the same categories. So it was surprising that the adult liberal learning is the similar process in different countries. That was interesting. And also, I was also surprised that also the benefits are common in different countries, so they are universal, I might say. If people do similar activities, they have similar experiences.
What's the next step? What are the next research questions to add on to the results what you have now from this BEL project?
Okay, good question. We have a lot of data to analyze still, even though our project ends at the end of the month and we do the official report to Brussels. But now we have to write several articles on different details, for example, comparing young and older learners, men and women maybe. And also interesting point is to analyze the negative outcomes of learning, because we have the scale from less than before to much more than before. And to analyze these negative outcomes, it's an interesting task, because if you have bad learning experiences, you get the negative benefits, so to say. And it will be one of the research topics using this same data. But what might be interesting in the future, not in summer, but maybe
after a little break, yes.
After the break, would be to compare the benefits of vocational adult education, because that would give more evidence about this hypothesis that whether liberal adult education is more effective in increasing learning motivation because it's voluntary or not, or the benefits if they are same in vocational education. So this might be one interesting topic. And also interesting would be to add new countries in this analysis. For example, Nordic countries would be very interesting to compare, because we have rather similar organizational historical structure, especially in Finland and Sweden. And Norway, Denmark, they also have very strong liberal adult education system, so it would be interesting to add new countries.